Well, let's talk a little bit about this year's Olympia. Everybody knows that you and Phil Heath have had a really close relationship since he started competing. You guys, obviously were on stage a handful of times together. He actually beat you with his first Olympia win. Phil racked up number 6 this year.
Mm-hmm.
He tied Dorian Yates. He's behind Arnold. He's behind Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman. But, he hasn't had any major injuries. He's had a couple of close wins, but he doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. Do you think it's feasible that Phil gets to 9 or 10 wins?
I think he'll win 10. That's my prediction. And I say that in no offense to the other athletes. Don't get me wrong, because I know if I was competing and I was behind Ronnie, trust me, I was there, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're not going to beat him." But remember, I was able to beat Ronnie because Ronnie aged. He was 10 years older than I was, and age is a huge factor in this business. So, looking at the lineups of guys and seeing the growing divisions and seeing less and less of bodybuilders coming up that are of caliber of like Phil Heath or Kai Greens is very few and far. And there's a lot of great size, but the condition and the lines and the whole stage presence and presentations of these guys, I don't see anyone that's really a huge threat. I mean, we can talk about the guys on the Olympia stage like from this past year. Big Rami's still, a younger guy, but he's running out of time to put it together. I mean, he's still far from being in his prime, but he's got to get grainier and crisper and just more polished in order to beat Phil Heath. He's not just going to get up there and just demolish Phil Heath with size, because you have to have a little combo of both. Yes, he can beat Phil Heath on every shot, in my opinion, or most of them, if he had the right conditioning, but I just don't know if he can get there, because I don't know if it's his training style or, it's hard when you're 300 and something pounds. I mean, there's never been anyone like that. I mean, with me, I was considered one of the bigger guys, and I was a 290 pound off season guy, dieting down to, 260 or whatever. So I was pretty much in striking distance. You just can't imagine a guy being, 330 and dieting down to 300 at the same height. And having enough lines. That's what Phil has dominant over these guys. And the big thing about Phil Heath is his training style. Phil is not, he's not an amateur, and he's not ego-driven where he has to go in the gym and he's trying to impress anyone. He knows exactly what his body needs to do in order to win these competitions. He's got a great coach. Hani's a great eye. I think they have the great combination. I mean, Phil was off his best a lot of years until this past Olympia. But it's amazing that Phil Heath being off is still light years ahead of a lot of the other guys. And if a guy can be off and win the Mr. Olympia every year, it speaks for itself. You know what I mean? And Phil will be the first to admit, he wasn't at his absolute best, but he didn't need to be. He still won. And I feel that Phil has the mentality, he has the drive, he has the vision, and he has, most importantly, the physique. He's got the gas left to win and break and he's so set on that record. I hate for him to even talk about it, because it's like, he's at 6. He's not close to 10 yet. You know what I mean? But unless we see someone come up with something really special, which, listen, it can happen. I came out from the back of the pack, too. Ronnie Coleman came from, last place. I came from second to last to win. So it's not like... That's why Phil doesn't get the respect, because Phil Heath came on the scene and he was third in his first Mr. Olympia. I mean, Ronnie and myself had to climb from the very last placings, forward. And I think that's why... people said, wow, hard work and, what it took to get there, whereas they think Phil was given those gifts. But listen, guys are just born for this stuff sometimes. And Phil, I said it from day one when I first saw Phil Heath, and I said, man, this kid's got all the tools. And people thought I was crazy at the time. And he came up pretty damn quick, and I think he's proven ground. I mean, you can't take away the fact that the guy's won 6 straight, and he's won them, a lot of them pretty damn handedly.